I'm Jamal Carter, 22, and my life flipped upside down in a moment that still burns in my memory. The conference room at Vertex Solutions, perched high above London's frenetic streets, was a glass fortress, its sleek walls catching the city's restless glow. The air was thick with tension as Lucas Reed, my manager, sat across from me, his eyes flicking to a folder he slid across the polished table. "Vertex is heading in a new direction," he said, his voice flat, robotic. "We need sharper talent to hit bigger targets. Your presence has caused some discomfort among clients. This is your termination notice." Those words hit like a fist to the chest. Discomfort. I knew what he meant, though he'd never say it outright. 18 months ago, I'd joined Vertex as a junior account manager, fresh from university, my ambition burning bright. In that time, I'd built a client portfolio generating $4.5 million, nearly a third of Vertex's £15 million revenue. My days were a relentless grind, late-night pitches, flights across Europe, sealing deals with handshakes and trust earned through sheer hustle. A timely call, a promise kept, a deal closed over tapas in Madrid. But last month, Herr Schmidt, an exec from a Frankfurt firm, complained to Lucas after a meeting, muttering about feeling uneasy. With me leading their account, the word he avoided hung heavy. My blackness. Lucas didn't defend me. He nodded, promised to handle it, and now here we were in this sterile room, my career on the line. I leaned forward, meeting Lucas's darting gaze. Did my £4.5 million in accounts factor into this new direction? His jaw twitched, but he stayed silent, his crooked tie betraying nerves. The folder held a single page, 2-week severance, nothing more. I signed the termination form, my hand steady, gave him a curt nod, and walked out. The door's soft click echoed louder than any argument could have been. Lucas had shown up 4 months earlier as VP of Client Relations, hired by CEO Olivia Grant to reinvigorate Vertex. His fancy suits and buzzwords, disrupt, scale, pivot, masked a man who'd never joined my client calls, never saw the sweat behind my numbers. Within weeks, he'd slashed my commissions by 15%, even though my accounts were thriving. The signs were quiet but deliberate. My desk was shoved into a shadowy corner during an office redesign, my name vanished from key email threads, my laptop mysteriously updated by IT while I grabbed lunch. The Frankfurt complaint, just the final excuse for a plan already in motion. I'd stayed silent, pouring my heart into my work, believing results would protect me. I was so wrong. Back at my cubicle, I packed my life into a canvas tote. A photo of my parents, beaming at my graduation, caught my eye. A leather bracelet my little brother Malik had made me. A USB drive with my client contacts, backed up on my personal laptop out of caution. Growing up in Birmingham, our terraced house hummed with love and hustle. My mom, a nurse, worked night shifts, leaving notes on the fridge. "Jamal, study hard. You're our rocket." My dad, a teacher, coached Malik's football team, drilling into us that effort outlasts talent. At 16, I'd started a side hustle selling custom phone cases online, saving every penny for university. That drive carried me to Vertex. But now, staring at my parents' photo, I felt the weight of their sacrifices. I couldn't let this setback define me. "New desk?" Sophie from HR asked, her brow furrowed as she passed by. "Something like that," I said, keeping my voice steady. I didn't want anyone in that office seeing the hurt clawing at my chest. In the elevator, I stood next to Olivia, her face buried in her phone, oblivious to the fault line Lucas had ripped open. I stayed quiet, my reflection in the glass doors sharp against the London skyline. Stepping out into the drizzle, the city's pulse steady as my world crumbled. I didn't feel rage, just a piercing clarity, like a storm clearing to reveal a stark horizon. I drove home in silence, radio off, my mind already mapping tomorrow. At my apartment, I poured a glass of red wine, its warmth steadying my hands. My phone lit up with a text from Claire Dubois, my biggest client. Her Paris-based fashion brand anchored a 1.2 million contract, up for renewal in 10 days. She wanted to confirm drinks to discuss terms. I set the phone down, staring out at the Thames, its water catching the city's restless glow. Lucas hadn't just fired me. He'd severed Vertex's lifeline to millions. He was blind to the bonds I'd built, the trust woven through late-night calls and deals sealed over coffee in Paris. I joined Vertex when it was Pulse Media, a scrappy agency in a Shoreditch loft. The walls buzzed with dreams, exposed bricks and mismatched chairs fueling a startup's hunger. Olivia had hired me herself, impressed by my hustle during an internship at a rival firm where I'd cold-called a CEO and landed a £50,000 deal. "I need someone who owns this market," she'd told me, her eyes sharp with trust. I delivered. We grew from local startups to European powerhouse, stretching contracts from months to years. I landed Claire's brand after they ditched a competitor, a win that sent ripples through the industry. My campaigns, backed by data and tailored to each client's pulse, delivered 30% higher engagement than the industry average. Vertex ballooned from a £2 million outfit to a £15 million giant. My accounts fueled £4.5 million of that. My parents, back in Birmingham, joked I was married to my laptop. Malik, 14 when I started at Vertex, got used to me missing his football matches. "Jamal's building an empire," he'd say, his pride softening my absence. But Lucas's arrival shifted everything. At my first review, he flashed a chart claiming my client acquisition was flat, noting I'd only signed one new account that quarter. "I'm deepening existing deals," I pushed back. Claire's contract grew 50%. He dismissed it with a wave. "We need predators, not caretakers." My intern, Lily, was reassigned to a new hire. My travel budget was tied to his approval. My expense reports were dissected line by line. Whispers of new hires, MBAs with slick pitches but no real connections, floated through the office. Lucas called them game changers. 3 weeks before my firing, the Frankfurt complaint surfaced. I'd flown to meet Herr Schmidt, his office all glass and chrome, sterile as his tight smile. "Your ideas are bold," he'd said, his tone clipped. "Perhaps too bold for us." I sensed his unease but stayed professional. "Can I address any specific concerns?" I asked, my voice even. He deflected, muttering about fit. I didn't push, chalking it up to cultural differences, but the memory stung. Lucas pulled me aside days later, his tone oily. "Some clients aren't comfortable with your style," he said, avoiding my gaze. "We gotta keep them happy." I knew it wasn't my style, it was my skin. I kept working, but the ground under me was crumbling. Then Lucas brought in Noah Blake, a 25-year-old from a Berlin startup, to shadow me on a call with Claire. No heads up, just learning the ropes. Noah fumbled through introductions, his pitch generic, missing the nuances of Claire's brand. She texted me after, "Who's this Noah? Your replacement?" I brushed it off with a laugh, but my gut churned. Driving home that night, London's lights smeared and hazy through the rain, I knew the end was near. Back at my place, the wine's warmth couldn't dull the ache. My work phone, now dead in my tote, held formal emails. The real connections, casual drink plans, client birthdays, CEO's direct lines, lived in my personal cloud. A web of 150 contacts, each one a testament to trust I'd built over coffee in Lisbon, late-night calls to ease doubts, deals sealed in Madrid's glow. There was no panic, no dread about bills or uncertainty. A quiet resolve took root, as certain as the Thames outside. My contract had a 1-year non-compete clause, but it only applied if I quit. Termination set me free. I could take my clients anywhere. Claire texted again, drinks confirmed, ready for the renewal. I didn't reply. Instead, I planned. Get some sleep, wake sharp, and call my top 3 clients. Claire, Marc Lefebvre from a Brussels tech firm, and Sofia Mendez from a Lisbon retailer. I'd tell them I was leaving, no bitterness, just facts. The rest would follow. But first, I called Malik. Missed my match again, he teased, his voice warm despite the jab. I apologized, promising to make the next one. At 15, he dreamed of pro football, but his school's team lacked funding. I'd been saving for new kits, a surprise for his birthday. Losing my job threatened that plan, but I vowed to protect it. You're still building that empire, yeah? He asked. Always, I said, his faith anchoring me. Morning dawned, gray and unyielding. I called Claire first. I'm not with Vertex anymore as of yesterday, I said, keeping my voice calm. Just wanted you to hear it from me. Her shock was immediate. What? Who's taking over? Probably Lucas or that Noah Blake guy. A pause. That guy from the call? He doesn't know our brand. That's all I can say. It's up to you now. I made similar calls to Mark and Sophia, their disbelief echoing Claire's. By noon, my phone was buzzing with messages. The marketing industry's tight-knit, and news like this spreads like wildfire. At 1 p.m., Olivia's call went to voicemail. Jamal, we need to talk about your exit. Clients are getting concerned. Call me back. I didn't. Instead, I met Rachel Cohen, an employment lawyer I'd connected with through a university mentor, at a quiet cafe in Camden. Her sharp eyes scanned my termination papers. You're clear to work, she said, sipping her latte. They'll try to scare your clients with legal threats, but they've got nothing. And that Frankfurt complaint? That's discrimination, plain and simple. You could sue. I nodded, filing the option away, but my head was already elsewhere, racing toward a future I could build. By 3 p.m., Vertex's legal team emailed me about confidentiality obligations. By 4 p.m., Lucas texted, let's discuss severance, maybe some consulting gigs. I ignored both. At 5 p.m., Claire called. Vertex pitched Noah as our lead, offered a 5% discount to keep us. I told them I'd think about it. I stayed quiet, letting her words settle. Jamal, where are you heading? That's where we're signing. I smiled, the first real one all day. I'll let you know soon, I said, keeping it vague. That night, I met Ayo, the junior colleague I'd mentored at Vertex. At 19, a Nigerian immigrant with a knack for data, he had zero confidence in client pitches. I'd spent months coaching him, sharing my scripts, role-playing calls until he could hold his own. We sat at a pub in Shoreditch, the hum of chatter around us. Heard you're gone, he said, his eyes wide. What do I do now? He reminded me of myself at his age, hungry, doubted, burning to prove something. You keep pushing, I told him. Your data skills are gold. Pair them with trust, and you'll outshine those MBAs. Meet me next week and we'll work on your next pitch. His nod was tentative, but I saw a spark. Helping him felt like reclaiming a piece of my purpose. Back home, I scrolled through my contacts, each name sparking a memory. Claire, whose Paris office overlooked the Seine, had shared her brand's vision over coffee. Sustainable fashion, rooted in community. I'd pitched a campaign tying her designs to local artisans, boosting her sales 20%. Mark, a Brussels tech founder, trusted me after I flew in on a red-eye to fix a botched campaign, saving his launch. Sophia, a Lisbon retailer, signed a 2-year deal after I remembered her son's birthday during a call. These weren't just contracts, they were bonds, built on late-night doubts eased, promises kept, trust earned. Lucas thought he could replace that with a discount and a new face. He was wrong. By evening, 6 clients sent termination notices to Vertex, totaling £3.5 million in revenue. By morning, 5 more followed, pushing the loss to £5 million. Lily, my former intern, texted, "It's chaos here. Lucas is blaming you for poaching. Olivia's asking why no one warned her." I didn't reply. Instead, I took a call from Elena Voss, founder of Nexus Collective, a boutique agency in Amsterdam known for putting clients first. "Heard you're free," she said, her voice warm, steady. "Senior account director. £50,000 signing bonus, complete autonomy, profit sharing. Want to start Monday?" My heart pounded with possibility. "I'm in," I said, the words feeling like a new beginning. A week later, Lily called again, her voice hushed like she was sneaking the call from a break room. It wasn't just that Frankfurt client, Jamal. Vertex was prepping for a merger with Horizon Group, a big player out of Berlin. They needed your clients to look like company assets, not tied to you personally. Sitting in my new office in Amsterdam, the canals glinting outside my window, the truth clicked into place. The merger had collapsed when Horizon saw Vertex's clients bailing left and right. Vertex's valuation tanked 22% overnight. The press was circling, industry blogs churning out headlines about Vertex's client exodus. Lily dropped another bomb. Vertex had been sneaking Horizon's account managers into my client meetings for months, passing them off as strategic consultants. Claire confirmed it when I called her. "Yeah, they brought in some guy, Paul, during our last review. Said he was analyzing trends, kept asking about our long-term needs, like he was fishing." Mark and Sophia reported the same. A woman named Katrin, another consultant, probing their plans. Vertex had been trying to pry my clients loose, testing if they could survive without me, all while I was still there, still loyal. The betrayal cut deeper than the firing itself, not just for the deceit, but for how calculated it was. A leaked email, forwarded by Lily, showed Lucas citing the Frankfurt complaint as a useful pretext to streamline my exit with Olivia's full approval. They'd used a prejudiced slight to justify a corporate maneuver, banking on me staying silent. It wasn't just business anymore. It was personal. I pushed forward, refusing to let their betrayal define me. Nexus signed 12 of my former Vertex clients within weeks, adding £5 million in revenue. I hit the ground running, my days a blur of calls, flights, and pitches. Amsterdam's canals became my new backdrop, their calm steadiness a contrast to London's frenetic pulse. Elena gave me a corner office with a view, a far cry from Vertex's shadowy corner. "You're not just an account guy," she told me at my welcome lunch. "You're a builder. Build here." Her trust felt like a lifeline, a chance to start fresh. One of my first challenges at Nexus was mentoring Priya, a new account manager fresh from university. At 21, she was sharp but green, her pitches faltering under client skepticism. "They think I'm too young," she confided over coffee, her hands twisting nervously. Her words echoed my own early days, when I'd had to prove myself twice over. I shared my Frankfurt story, not the complaint, but how I'd won Schmidt's initial contract with a data-driven pitch that left no room for doubt. "Anchor your ideas in numbers," I told her. "Clients can't argue with results." I spent weeks coaching her, reviewing her slides, role-playing tough questions. When she landed a £500,000 contract with a Dutch retailer, her grin was brighter than any deal I'd closed. "You're a lifesaver, Jamal," she said. I shook my head. "You did the work. I just showed you the path." Claire's contract renewal was my first big win at Nexus. We met at a Paris bistro, the Seine sparkling outside. "I'm not signing with Vertex," she said over wine, her eyes steady. Noah's pitch was a joke. Generic, no soul. "I'm with you, wherever you are." Her £1.2 million deal anchored Nexus's growth, and her trust fueled my drive. Mark's contract was trickier. His Brussels tech firm was facing a power struggle. His CFO, Eric, pushed a cheaper vendor to cut costs, threatening our £800,000 deal. I flew to Brussels, jet-lagged but sharp, and presented a campaign that slashed costs 15% while boosting ROI by 20%. Mark signed on the spot, Texting later, "You're a strategist, not just a closer." Sophia's Lisbon retail chain followed. Her £600,000 contract sealed after a late-night call where we laughed about her son's obsession with football. "You get us," she said. That was the difference. The Frankfurt complaint lingered in my mind, a wound that wouldn't close. Rachel, my lawyer, dug deeper and uncovered a betrayal that changed everything. The complaint wasn't just Schmidt's bias. It was orchestrated by Apex Strategies, a rival firm eyeing Vertex's market share. Their exec, Lena Fisher, had wined and dined Schmidt, promising favorable contract terms if he raised an issue to destabilize Vertex. Emails between Lucas and Schmidt's firm hinted at a quid pro quo, discounted services for their cooperation. Apex's plan was to poach Vertex's clients post-merger, betting on the chaos. It backfired when I took those clients to Nexus, but the truth stung. Vertex hadn't just failed me, they'd been played by a rival, and they'd let a prejudiced slight become their excuse. A month into Nexus, I was invited to speak at the European Marketing Summit in Lisbon. The topic, Trust in a Transactional World. I prepped meticulously, pulling data from my campaigns, 50% faster rollouts, 35% cost savings, 30-point spikes in satisfaction scores. I stood on that stage, the spotlight warm, my voice steady. "Clients don't follow companies, they follow people who deliver," I said. "Undermine your team, and your revenue walks." Olivia was in the crowd, her face a mask of strain, her tailored suit no shield against the truth. During the Q&A, a young analyst asked, "Your exit from Vertex with clients following, doesn't that prove companies should limit employee power?" I met Olivia's gaze across the room. Vertex didn't lose clients because I left. They lost them because they forgot what clients value. The market's a brutal teacher. After the summit, a Horizon exec, Michael Chen, approached me at the networking mixer. His handshake was firm, his eyes sharp. "Vertex's merger was shaky from the start," he said over the clink of glasses. "They overvalued your clients as assets, not relationships. Apex pitched us too, pointing out Vertex's cracks. We walked when your clients did." His words confirmed what I'd suspected. Vertex's collapse wasn't just my doing, it was their own hubris, amplified by Apex's scheming. Claire pulled me aside later, her voice low. "Vertex's board contacted me after the merger fell apart, offered a steep discount to stay, plus a veiled threat of legal action if I followed you." She laughed, her eyes glinting. "I told them to shove it. My loyalty's with you, Jamal." Her words hit harder than any contract. Nexus signed 7 more ex-Vertex clients, adding £3.5 million. Vertex announced Lucas's departure, followed by Olivia's resignation. The press had a field day, with headlines like "Vertex bleeds talent and clients." I didn't feel triumphant, just focused. Rachel pushed for a discrimination case, citing the emails tying Lucas to Apex's scheme. "You've got a slam dunk case," she said. I hesitated. My victory wasn't in court, it was in the life I was building, the clients who trusted me, the team I was shaping. 6 months into Nexus, I presented our Q2 results. £7.5 million in new business, 80% from former Vertex clients. Elena raised a glass at the team dinner, her voice warm. "To Jamal, the fire we didn't expect." My phone pinged later. Vertex was subleasing its London HQ, their glass fortress now a ghost. Noah Blake, jobless after Vertex's collapse, emailed me. "Any openings at Nexus? I'm in a tough spot." I forwarded it to HR with a note. "Talented guy, bad situation, worth a chat." I wasn't one to hold grudges. Noah was a pawn in Lucas's game, not the king. I threw myself into Nexus, but I didn't forget my roots. Malik's football team was struggling, their kits torn, their travel budget non-existent. I'd promised him new gear, and I wasn't about to break that vow. I organized a community fundraiser in Birmingham, rallying local businesses and my old university mates. We raised £5,000, enough for kits, travel, and a proper coach. At the event, Malik scored the winning goal, his grin brighter than any deal I'd closed. My parents were there, their pride palpable. "You're building more than an empire," my mom said, her voice soft. I smiled. "It's about building right." Io's journey came full circle when he joined Nexus 3 months later. I'd kept in touch, sending him pitch tips, critiquing his work. He landed a £200,000 contract with a Finnish startup, his first big win. "Couldn't have done it without you," he said, his voice thick. I clapped his shoulder. "You did the work. I just lit the spark." Seeing him thrive reminded me why I fought, not just for myself, but for those coming up behind me. A year after Lucas handed me that folder, I signed a partnership deal with Nexus. My portfolio alone drove £14 million, and the firm grew 35%. I'd hired 5 account managers by then, each on my profit-sharing model, ensuring their hard work couldn't be stolen. Claire texted me after her latest campaign launched. "We stayed for you, Jamal. You're the value." Her words were a quiet anchor, a reminder of what mattered. Olivia sent a note a few weeks earlier. "I failed you. Coffee, if you'll allow it." I tucked it away, not ready to forgive, but not closed off either. I booked the coffee, not to gloat, but to close the chapter. She sat across from me at a quiet London cafe, her eyes tired. "I trusted Lucas too much," she admitted, stirring her espresso. "I didn't see what he was doing to you." I nodded, letting her words sit. "Trust is earned, Olivia. You forgot that." I left it there, no malice, just truth. I went to Malik's next match, his new kit gleaming under the floodlights. He waved from the pitch, his pride outshining every contract I'd signed. Back in Amsterdam, my office overlooked the canals, their calm a mirror to the resolve I'd forged. Some fires burn away the fake, leaving only what's unbreakable. I stood taller now, rooted in a truth deeper than the Thames' endless tide.